Marsh here from Soulful Living with Ingrid, helping you to press pause, my darlings, to elevate your consciousness and to bloom your wild flowers within. Anyway, my darlings, as you know, I love to bring you awesome guests, beautiful guests who are going to help us to fly, who's going to help us to get off the rat race and really tune into our energy fields and manifest our greatness that's inside of us. And who better to help us today than the wonderful Karen Miknas. Karen is a Feng Shui expert. Have I said that word right? I always get it wrong, Karen.
You have.
Fabulous.
Feng Shui.
Feng Shui. Feng Shui expert, which is important now, isn't it? Because there's lots happening at the moment. There's all the thing happening around racism and inequality of George Floyd. So a lot of us are watching TV loads and getting quite angry and getting, really upset about this kind of stuff naturally. And that's all going to be impacting the energy in our homes. There's also the COVID situation, the bad news, although that's tamed down a little bit, but all that bad news, that bad energy coming into our homes. So the thing is, how do we flush this stuff? You know what I mean? How do we flush this energy out of our homes that we can thrive, that we can be happy, that we can live fruitful lives? So Karen, sweetheart, how are you, luscious?
I'm really good, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. We've chatted before on the whole abuse thing, but I was really upset that we didn't really get to delve more into your Feng Shui work. Feng Shui. Feng Shui. What is she like? Laugh as anything. They can share. We didn't really go into that, and I just thought, everything's for a reason. It's because we needed to do it now. Is that right, yes, Karen?
Absolutely. And you say about how how we're bringing the energy into our home, and it's not just about bringing the energy in. It's about what's already in our homes. Indeed. And it's also not only about what we're seeing and hearing on the TV and on the news. It's about us being thrown into a situation where we're not used to. Most of us didn't sign up for spending 24 hours a day with our partners and our kids. Most of us didn't sign up for having to homeschool. We signed up for going out to work and having the home space as family space when, in the evenings and the weekends. And now, a lot of us are finding that we've been thrown into our homes 24/7 with people we don't normally spend so much time with.
You may discover we don't even like them. I love you, kids or partner.
And so it's a whole upheaval to how we have operated in our world pre-COVID.
Cool.
And of course, what's going on in the outside world and everything that's happened in the States. It's all this is leading to, or has led to a huge emotional shift, which of course is going to have an impact on your space in your house, because it is a hugely emotional time for many reasons.
But before we go into that, Karen, because that's really important, because I found an emotional shift in my home, because I found myself getting drained and so forth. But before we touch on that, can you explain for those who are watching this for the first time, maybe even just heard of Feng Shui. Just heard of Feng Shui. What is it? Can you tell us what it is?
Okay, Feng Shui is an old Chinese art that creates harmony and balance in your house and in your environment, in your working environment, in your home, that it's to bring balance and harmony and abundance into your life. So it was used originally only for the elite and the emperors in China, and it was not used among the people. But at the end of the dynasties, I think it was around the turn of the century, and the end of the last dynasty in China, these Feng Shui masters became jobless, basically, because they didn't have the emperors as their clients anymore. So they started bringing it to the lay people and using it among anybody who was interested in finding out about it. And it's a lot to do, or it's all to do with the energy around us and how we use that energy to the best we can. I like
effectively that the energy is there anyway. So is it how we enhance it, how we shift it,
Absolutely.
how we manipulate that energy? Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So what you have in any situation is yin and yang. Mm-hmm. So it's their opposites. So there'll be yin and yang in everything in our lives. Everything. There's yin and yang everywhere. So you can't have pain without joy. You can't have happiness without sadness, etc. Light without dark, yin and yang. And it's the same with energy. Our houses have good and bad energy in them. And quite often, sometimes we find that, if there's issues in the house, it's potentially the wrong energy is being activated and the good energy isn't being activated, or it's being blocked. And the key principle rule of Feng Shui is declutter. Is clutter free. So whenever there are stuff or things in the rooms or in our corridors, it's blocking the chi flow. Chi is energy, and it's blocking that flow. And it's in order for chi to flow freely into the house, it needs space. And it needs,
just having you say that already, I feel like right, move that. Get that out, move it.
And even lots of things on the walls can trap energy.
Oh, really?
Not so much paintings or pictures, they're okay, but if you've got lots of things around and or artifacts hanging on the wall, and it's all about keeping your space clear. It's really important.
But what about, and I'm a bit of one of those creative folks, do you know what I mean? Like, I live in an eclectic space. I love that whole eclectic lifestyle. And I've never been one when I go into people's homes and it's just like all very straight, clear corners. And to me, there's no life in that home. So they'll have no clutter. It's clutter free. But that's for them. That's not a criticism of them or judgment of them. But for me, that feels soulless. Do you know what I mean? I love that. That brings me joy. And I find those super straight spaces where everything's put away, no clutter, just a little bit like, I can't do that. So how do I get chi running through my home when I don't want to live in that, what I feel is a sterile environment?
You've got to, it's like everything, it's got to be in balance. And you have to be able to enjoy living in your space. So it's really about understanding what makes you feel good in your space. And like Marie Kondo, I don't know if you ever watched.
Yes, I have seen her.
And her whole ethos around, if you don't love it, if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. Don't keep it. If it doesn't bring you joy, don't keep it. And of course, we want to have nice things in our space, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But we just have to be aware where they are and to make sure that they're not. It doesn't look cluttered. I mean, you can have a beautiful home with lovely things in it, and it doesn't look cluttered. And I agree that these stark places, they're not for me. Obviously they are for some people, but they're not for me. I like a bit of lived in, and if you have kids, it's really difficult to have completely clutter free, but it's just managing it in a way where it's not overwhelming, and it's not you have to make your environment work for you, not against you.
Quite. And I do know what you mean. There's a difference between, like I said, living in an eclectic environment where, things are a little bit different or what have you, and having a space that's lived in. But that still doesn't need to have clutter. And so, there is a balance there, isn't there, Karen? I know exactly what you mean. So
clutter is things you don't need. You just have for the sake of having them.
Right. So that's a good way. It's good to define that then, isn't it? It's what you don't need. And like you said, what's her name? Maria Kondo? Is that her name?
Marie Kondo.
Yeah, like I said, if you don't love it, get rid of it. I hear
Yeah.
that. And I used to hear that thing as well. If you haven't used it in the last 6 months, or is that really brutal to ditch it?
Well,
You're not going to go that far.
I don't. There's things I have for a lot longer than 6 months that I haven't necessarily used as such. But you know, I mean, I think if I went on for another 6 months, I would seriously consider thinking, you know, okay,
do I need this? Okay, so going back to the whole energy thing, what might people be experiencing in their homes? Because it's unconscious, isn't it? Sometimes we have bad energy in our homes and it's manifesting itself in all sorts of
Yep.
crazy ways, and it's unconscious. But if we were to wake up to it, what might we be experiencing which might be an indication that we need to call on Karen to come on in and Feng Shui out our house?
So things that you might feel in your home are blocks. So if you are struggling to be creative, if you're struggling to be focused on your work, if you have if you're struggling with communication with your partner, with your children, having difficulties with your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
these are all things that could potentially be cleared through Feng Shui. And your health, your wealth, your money, you know, if suddenly some things aren't working out, if you can't get work, if you've lost your job, these are all things that we can potentially look at in your house. Now currently I am helping people transition from working in the office to working at home,
Mm-hmm.
because you know it's really important how you set up your desk, where you place your desk, and where and what direction it's facing in. Each one of us has our own facing direction, so that's all really important on how to do that. And sorry, my daughter's just come in the door and distracted me.
This is working from home for you. This is quite.
So, yes, going back to
My
the
son
working
does that, but then the
from
door
home.
squeaks. Well, I'll fix the squeaky door now, but the door would squeak. I'll be like, I want to call.
Yeah, no, it's like I want to call.
Yeah.
So it's about placement, and so for them to have more productivity, more focus, more a higher performance. So it's things like that, and other things are, if you're not sleeping very well, it could be the way your bed is placed, or where the position of it, what direction it's facing, because these are all things that we can help ourselves with. It's you know, there are lots of different forms of Feng Shui, and when the back at the end of the Chinese dynasties, and the Feng Shui masters became unemployed, they started moving out of China and into the neighboring countries, and then of course it went into the Western countries. So Western Feng Shui they call it either the new modern Feng Shui or black hat Feng Shui. And it has a lot of concentration around color and trinkets, or you know, things to put in your house, wind chimes, that kind of thing. But the classic Feng Shui is really, really about compass direction, where you're facing, what part of the house you are eating in, working in, sleeping in, living in. And it's based on a map of your house, which was created at the time it was built, and it's a metaphysics, Chinese metaphysics map of your house, and I work from that. And there are 9 different sections in your house, all of which mean different things.
So that's interesting. So do you practice the traditional classic Feng
The
Shui?
classic Feng Shui, yes.
You don't do the modern one?
No, I will use color to a certain degree, but I don't rely solely on color.
Okay. There are things like color psychology and the impacts color has on you, but
yes,
you've chosen to stick with the traditional one. Any reason why?
it's deeper. It's far more accurate, and it's far more personalized. So each person has their own chart and their own personal information that we can use in conjunction with the house. And each house is different depending on when it was built. I nearly said where it was born. When it was
that too means the same thing.
Built,
yeah.
When it was built and what direction it faces.
Right.
So in order for me to carry out a consultation, I need to know the direction of the facing direction of the house. And I also need to know, I need to have a floor plan of the house.
Crikey. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a floor plan. Yes, I do. I do have a floor plan of my house. So you do. You, from the deeds or what have you, get that sent into you.
Yes.
Right, I was going to say, and if you don't have that, you can always sketch it out or something like that, presumably.
Yes, I've sketched mine, and it's basically, I just do it like this. So it looks, my floor plan would look like this. You can see lots of numbers on it.
Yeah.
And that's all to do with the Chinese metaphysics.
Fabulous. Now
each number denotes a certain section of the house that is good for certain things.
And are you working also within, does your own personal energy have much to do with the work as well? Or is it solely based on that house when it was built, the way it's facing? Does the energy of the occupants have anything to do with the impact of your work?
Yes, absolutely. So when I do a consultation, I will do what's called a Bazi chart, which is spelled B-A-Z-I. It's also known as the 4 pillars. And that is a chart that I create based solely on the individual. Each person's chart will be different. And that tells me a bit about the person, what their strengths, their weaknesses, and it tells me a little bit about their personality. And through using that, I work out their best direction to face, to sit. So I can work out the best direction for them to sit when they're working, when they're sleeping, when they're eating. And when they want to go into a meeting and have that meeting go their way, there is a direction that they need to be facing. And that's individual. Fabulous. So whenever I'm going to do a meeting, and when I was doing my exams, I made sure I got to the room early and I found the best place for me to be sitting, so that the other person, and in a meeting, the other person is not necessarily in their best place. I'm in my best place.
How fascinating is that?
And it goes much deeper as well. You can go much deeper, and it's actually incredible how it
Karen, what about if you're living with someone? Like, let's say, for example, I've got a great vibe, great energy, I'm on a high, what have you. But there's someone else, and you set it up for me. You've worked from here, Ingrid. You take it's conversation here, you eat from here, get rid of this, blah, blah, blah. But every day there's someone coming into my house, my partner, my child, or what have you. They're on low vibration, they're on a low vibe. They're bringing their energy into my home. Does what you do help to block their energy, their negative energy, from entering my space and my world? What would happen around that?
Feng Shui doesn't block energies coming into the house. That's not what it's for. It creates the best energy within the space.
Right.
Whoever instructs the consultation is the one that would have the predominant reading and the predominant energy. The energy would be balanced for them. But you would find that, as the energy increases in the house, even if somebody comes in with low energy, they will start getting a sense of that shift in energy.
Oh, fabulous.
And raise their energy. So if have you ever gone into a house when you've been looking for a house?
Yeah.
You go through so many, and you walk in and you go, oh God, I really don't like it in here. And you don't even have to go very far. You can just be in the hallway. You can.
I'm going to any space, Karen, and feel that, not just but quite.
And that's the energy. That's energy in that space. And then you can walk into another building and think, I don't want to leave here. This is amazing. I really like it here, and it feels good. So when you walk into a space like that, it lifts your energy.
Very true, very true.
So it's the same in your home.
Mm-hmm.
You create a good energy in your home. You create a good space in your home. And it's harder for that negative energy to penetrate. Obviously, if you've got people in your life with a negative energy, you need to they need to work on that themselves, or you need to help them work on that.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of them.
I was waiting for that bit.
I understand if it's family. You can't really get rid of your kids.
Oh, yes, you can. I take no prisoners when it comes to my energy, love, but yeah.
So, it's about helping them work on their energy. And by having good energy in your house, it'll help that.
Oh, how wonderful. Karen, look, there's been a major shift in terms of the way Westerners have seen life, has seen the world. And they really are shifting to more Eastern philosophies now. They realise there's something else. Maybe their soul wasn't filled, perhaps doing the regular way of life that sort of pushed down our throats. And there has really been a major influx in like I said, looking at more Eastern philosophies, that kind of thing. I mean, why do you think this is happening? What's been your experience around this?
I think there's been a huge shift in consciousness over the last few years. The consciousness of the human race is rising, which can only be a good thing. And I think what we're realizing, and I really believe that COVID, this lockdown and COVID situation around the world, has given the human race an opportunity to step back a little from life as we were seeing it and experiencing it, and see how it was eating into the core of us as humanity, and creating all these issues in the world. And I think it's had a real impact on the consciousness, the level of consciousness in the world. And so it's been long known that Buddhism, Taoism, and the spirituality, the spiritual practices have come from the East. And Feng Shui is not a religion. It's a way of life, and it's a way of connecting with what's around us. It's about plugging in to our environment to make it work for us. And we've been too busy in our lives doing stuff and doing things. We've not really stopped and listened and observed. And this lockdown has forced us to do that a little bit. And I think the movement of looking east to Eastern philosophy has been on the rise over the last few years. And I think this will see a huge shift in it, because these things have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Right.
And they've been working for people for all that time. And I guess it's very easy to disregard something if you don't know about it. It's like anything, taking even the current situation, it's very easy for people to disregard racism if they don't know anything about it or they've never experienced it. The same way, we can disregard lots of things in our lives if we don't know about it. But as our consciousness awakens, we start being open to new things and realize that there are things around us that have been working for a very long time,
right,
that we've just not known about.
Indeed.
And so, and Feng Shui is amazing at the moment, because it is all about our environment, and the energy level we have within our homes. And this is not going away. People are going to be working in their homes for a long time. And it's going to veer a lot towards that in the future.
Well, you've picked up on my key word, Karen, which I swear by, is the word environment. I say to people, it's everything. In fact, my own personal saying is that a flower will never fully bloom in the wrong soil. For those of you who have gardens, what have you, you've got that flower in the wrong soil. It may grow a little bit, do you know what I mean? But be a bit, but it will never bloom. Do you know what I mean? And this is
Yeah.
what I think about environment. And even with my son, you know, I've had to move my son several times in school, some of those because of discriminative issues and et cetera, et cetera. You know about my stories in those regards. And the school where he experienced it the worst, where it was a really bad situation. Then if I'd listened to if I was in tune as I am now, I'd have picked up from the environment that it wasn't a cool place for him to be. And the school I shifted him to, what I say to people, we have to remember he was still a minority, he was still a white headmaster, you know, but the environment was completely different. That you felt it at the moment you walked through the door. It was there for the children to flourish and thrive. So me and environment, 1 second, this one that's taking me a bit more time, 1 second. So environment for me, it's one of the things I check, you know, even when my son was growing up, now he's going to make his own decisions, but it's something I'd always check before I go, what's the environment? And I could pick it up. And if I followed that, if I tuned into that, it never failed me, because it's very difficult to go against your environment. It's like a big, heavy wave. It's like a force, an invisible force. So, you know, I'm loving what you're saying right now, because it's it's an ethos by which I live by.
Yeah. I mean, the basic Feng Shui, the main Feng Shui is actually based on landform. So when you think about it, it's based on the environment outside your house of mountains and water. And so you have these great big landforms around you that have, you know, when we live in cities, we don't have them anymore. You know, we don't have the luxury of looking at landform. So it has kind of moved into the closer environment. And in Feng Shui, rivers have now become roads because of activity. So, you know, when we talk about looking for water and water movement, if there is no rivers around or water near you, we look at the roads for the movement in Feng Shui. And it is very much about the environment. And there's so much noise, or there has been so much noise in our lives that it has been difficult to tune in.
Quite.
It's been very difficult to tune in because there's so much going on around us. But, you know, we are currently an amazing opportunity. Sorry, I think that was my notification.
Is that okay? Cool.
Them off on my laptop. To give us the chance to tune into our environment and embrace it. Embrace what we've got, because we can. And I think also it's really important to say that we've been living in a throwaway society. And that's in terms of everything, in throwaway of everything. So the relationship's not working, throw it away. The fridge isn't working, throw it away. It's nothing. We've not been, the job's not working, throw it away and get a new one. So it's not always about throwing things away and looking for something new. It's looking at ways we can fix things, because something was good sometime, somewhere, mainly, not always, but, you know, it's about looking at our environment and where we're living and how conducive is that to our mood, our emotions, our feelings, and how we can actually work with what we've got to create.
I'm struggling a little bit on that, because I'm so much into working with my environment, what's conducive for my energy. Even before I was conscious of it, I was always aware if something wasn't right. I sometimes want to go into denial about it, like if I felt something wasn't right. The moment I became conscious of it and decided to get rid of it, I could then have my own chi going on, my own flow going on. So I'm not sure if I totally agree on but, you know, let me know what you think. You know, I've got an open mind that if it's not working, my thing is if it's not working is to get rid of it kind of thing, because that energy flow is so important to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you just chuck away a relationship like that and chuck away everything like that, but for me, there's always come a time where it's like, this is just suppressing my energy. It's blocking me. It's draining me, actually, depleting me. And my thing has always been there to get rid of it. But what would you say about that, Karen?
And I agree. If something's not working in your life, I think more, maybe what I should have said is we should examine it more before throwing it away.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I have left jobs that don't work for me, and I have no regrets. You know, I've walked out of employment and I have zero regrets that I just left. And when they weren't working, I was like, nah, I'm not. This is not for me.
Yeah.
It's more about when we have aligning our values and not being so quick to throw things away. You know, that there are things that can be saved and can be turned around and can be mended to work again. But at the end of the day, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And you can see that from you can actually tell from charts. I've been deep diving into Feng Shui over lockdown, and I've been learning a lot of deeper aspects of it, and forecasting and that, and it's surprisingly accurate on how things are working and what to do and the situations you're in. And you know, I've had experience of how I've had readings and I've just been listening to what I've been told, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you can tell all that just from looking at the chart. Oh my God, it's just been really powerful. So you can actually go deeper and then find out if what you're doing is right or whether it's worth saving.
Oh, interesting. Now that's really interesting. Cool.
Yes.
I know you told me something which I won't put out here now, but if it does happen, you've told me something the 14th of December. And not sure
yes.
I won't put it out now, but I have got an earmark saying like, oh, let's see what said, but...
And the other one is the 21st of June.
21st of June. Okay. Do you want to share with all of us what you thought was going to happen then, or do you want to?
Well, it's just from looking at the from a metaphysical side of things. There's an eclipse coming on the 21st of June. It's not as strong as the one that was in December last year, which was just before COVID, and the aspects in the chart around for that eclipse in December was all around health and economy, finance. And then the COVID came, and of course we've shut down the economy. And so there's another eclipse on the 21st of June. It's not as strong as that one in December, but the aspects in that chart are finance and real estate. So it'll be interesting to see how things take a turn on the 21st of June around finances and the economy and property.
Excellent. So, cool.
I'm not saying what will happen, but you know,
something the 21st of June is the other day I'm going to factor in. Karen, you also touched on before we draw to a close, you also touched on that you felt that through COVID-19 has really raised people's consciousness, has allowed them to step back and, you know, raise their awareness and so forth. I've had another lady who mentioned the same thing. Francesca Bleckner talked about that, and it has, you know, people have allowed them to step back and so forth. My fear is that, and so it must have been energy that I put out there, but my fear is that once this is all released, it's all forgotten about, that it'll just go back to how it was. They'll forget about, the majority of people will forget about the lessons that they've learnt from stepping back. And wherever the media sort of points its camera and focus on, that will be the next thing. And all this awareness that came to us would all just be buried again. Do you feel more confident that things will, this conscious, once you become conscious, you're conscious, you can't, you know, hide what you already know? Or do you feel it's just too easy? It's the easiest thing is to be unconscious and just to go right back on there again, right back on that treadmill.
My belief is that for those who have raised their conscious level during the last few months, like you say, you can't unlearn what you learn. and they will remain conscious. I think for those who have stayed at home, watched Netflix, and not really, and just have their recycling bins full of beer, and I'm not judging, that's their choice. I think the level of consciousness is probably not going to change, and you're not going to change people. You're not going to change everybody, or not everybody is going to change. Yes, I do believe that being unconscious can be more comfortable for people. It's hard for people to get uncomfortable, and you can't raise your level of consciousness without getting uncomfortable. But I do believe that we are seeing things in this world with new eyes, and new ways of thinking, and I do believe that will continue to a degree. There will always be slippage.
Quite.
But I do believe that more and more people will continue on that path. And I think also it's the responsibility of others who have raised their conscious level to help everybody stay focused, stay conscious, and not forget the lessons we've learned.
Quite. And it's a journey, isn't it, Karen? Like I said, you're forever learning. You're still forever learning Feng Shui. I'm still forever learning my in my own craft. But like they say, a tree is forever taking in nutrients and the sun and water. It's forever.
Absolutely.
Oh, it would stop growing, it would die.
Totally.
It didn't.
When you stop learning, you stop growing, and when you stop growing, you die.
We're no different to nature in that regard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally hear you on that. And no, that's truly beautiful. And then once upon a time, Karen, let's face it, if you'd said to me Feng Shui, a few years back, I'd have been like, you're all right. You're okay, keep it moving. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that don't work. And it's only through my own growth and my own elevation of my own consciousness that this stuff now absolutely resonates with me. And
absolutely.
So
and that's the same with a lot of people.
Yeah.
The more you learn, the more you want to learn. The more I've learned, I've had a huge growth in the last 5 years.
Right.
I knew nothing of this 5, 6 years, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I've had a huge journey, and I'm loving my journey, and I'm loving learning so many new things, because it's fascinating that there's something more than what I knew for most of my life out there.
And it is, it's wonderful, isn't it?
Wow, really, that really exists.
Space.
Yeah.
It's like me, I've forever got a book in my face, do you know what I mean? Like gobbling that more. And
everything. Like food. What's that? Oh my God, I've never seen that before. And oh wow.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll try that. I do think that, I do believe, and I hope I'm not wrong, I do believe that people who have risen their conscious level will stay pretty conscious. Some will probably plateau, but then you'll have others that will continue to grow and continue to raise that level. And in doing so, they'll pull people with them. You can't not.
Well, so when they say, when you shine your light, you allow others to shine their light too, right?
Exactly. And you'll find probably we'll have a lot of inspiration coming out, and people who are inspiring other people to do things. I do believe that will be the case.
Fabulous. So, Karen, give us, please, 3 Feng Shui Feng Shui tips.
Okay.
I'm throwing at you. I'm not usually prepared this in advance, so I'm throwing this at you. Could you give us your top tips?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of tips for working at home. So if you're in an office, space or a working space, make sure that your desk rather, is not you're not sitting at your desk with your back to the door. And that's a big no in terms of focus. You'll struggle with your focus if your back is to the door. Mm-hmm. If you have no choice but having your back to the door, make sure you put a mirror in front of you so you can see the door. So you can see anybody coming through the door.
I love that.
Always work with potentially a wall or a large, I have my bookcase behind me.
Yeah, this is where I always work. There's a wall there, so I'm like, yeah, you got that one right.
Yeah. And preferably facing the door.
Right. Yes, I am facing my door. So like, yay.
Fabulous. Clutter free. Get rid of the stuff you don't need. Really important. Get rid of the stuff you don't need. Find the center of your house. The center of your house is for your health. Really important at this kind of time. So make sure the center of your house is clear, and you don't have any mess, you don't have any clutter, and you keep something that symbolizes health there. It can be a nice picture of health of some kind. The center of my house is my kitchen, which is, it's a space in my kitchen, which is quite good. And I keep a fruit bowl there. So if you've got anything like that, make sure your fruit isn't going rotten and having flies all over it. That's not good for the center of your house in terms of health. And lastly, the southeast corner is for your wealth. So when you find out the facing direction of your house, you will know where the north, southeast, west is, and the southeast corner is for wealth.
Southeast corner.
Southeast. So again, make sure that that is clear and no clutter. And you can keep things like I kept in there my lottery. If I have a lottery ticket, I put my lottery ticket in the southeast side. That might be a little bit more black hat, but I just do it anyway. I know that's the southeast side, and just keep it clear and have it. I have a money tree, a little money plant in the southeast corner.
Fabulous.
And one more, I'll give you one more, is the southwest is for relationships.
Right. So
if you have a partner and you're living at home with your partner, put a photograph of the two of you in that space. If you're just you and your kids, which is the case for me, you just put a picture of you and your kids in there. If you're single, you put two of everything in there, and pairs. Don't put anything singular in there, because
if you're looking for a partner, some may be happy being single.
Yeah. So yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I mean. If you're looking for a partner, put twos of everything in there, pairs.
Fabulous. Karen, you are luscious beyond words, as per usual. You have such a beautiful vibe, my darling. You really do.
Thank you.
Your vibe comes through the screen. It's so beautiful. Scott,
thank you.
If we want to get a hold of you, for those who will most definitely want to get a hold of you, especially those who have raised their consciousness now, realise that there is really more to it, and energy and vibe is absolutely everything. How do we get in touch with you?
You can contact me on Facebook, through Facebook, Karen Miknas.
MIKNAS.
That's right. And I have a Facebook page, which you'll find the link through on. It's called Your Way to Feng Shui.
And can you spell Feng Shui for us, please?
Feng Shui, F for Freddie, ENGSHUI.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Excellent.
Website on its way.
Brilliant. No worries at all. And I'll also put a link to this post as well, where people can contact you.
Thank you.
Karen, thank you so much, my darling. Thank you so much again.
Pleasure.
Take care.
As always. Bye.
Bye.